Are you stuck in your law firm and business? Want to know why? Tune in and find out.
You are listening to the Prosperous Law Podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosperous Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. In this podcast today, I want to talk about a couple of things, but I want to talk about who you listen to and how people around you affect you. And what got me thinking about this is the Otis Redding song, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. And it's a great song, and I've listened to it hundreds of times, probably like everybody. It's a great song. But I started thinking about things that influence us. Like somebody will say something in a song, and so you take that, as true. Is that true? Like the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need. Is that true? Sitting on the dock of the bay. Otis Redding, he sings, I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, so I guess I'll remain the same. And I think that's probably a common thought or belief for people. And there are a lot of layers in that. One is that the song is saying that, he cannot change. He's sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time, right? So the question is, in your law firm and in your business, is that what you're doing? Are you sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time, or are you moving forward? And frequently I've talked about the phenomenon of who do you listen to? And most of us, all of us, listen to people that we're around, and we end up taking advice from people who don't know what they're talking about. And I was told a long time ago to only get advice from somebody who's doing or has done what I wanted to do. Now, when I first heard that, there was nobody around me. So there was nobody to talk to. Now, I had friends and family my entire life, and I would ask them something and ask them a question because I was searching for some truth. The problem is that the people that I was talking to, even though we were friends or family members or they cared about me and I cared about them, and if you notice, people will always give you advice. People are very quick to give advice. But the question is, and what you have to ask yourself, is that advice helpful? Is that good advice? Or is that going to take you, down some other trail in the wrong direction? And then how would you know that? So who you get advice from and who you surround yourself with is crucial to your growth and your success. When I started looking, for mentors and that sort of thing, the only way I found any was I started paying for advice. And I think that probably that's the only way to do it. You have to give something to get something back. There has to be an exchange of value. So for me, I can't do what 10 people tell me to do. And so what are you going to do in your life? What are you going to do to move forward? And you have to get the right kind of advice and help. Now, most people, and also with I did a little research on Otis Redding, and there's this guy that was a musician on there, and I think he co-wrote the song, Stephen Copper. These guys were not stuck, okay? They recorded that hit song. Now, it came out, I think, after Otis Redding died, but he had a career before that. And Stephen Cropper had an extraordinary career. I think he was nominated for, 7 or 8 Grammy Awards and won 2. So it got me thinking as well, how did he do that? I don't think he did it by listening to people who were not helpful. I don't think he did that by seeking advice from people that didn't know how to succeed in the music industry. Now, he was apparently an extraordinary guitar player, and he played with people like John Lennon, and I think Keith Richards said he was an amazing guitarist, and they were always seeking him out. So he had the skill set, and I think as a musician, you can obviously develop that skill set without talking to people. But then once you become accomplished, and he was also a music producer, and a very good one apparently, once you become accomplished, what do you do with that? Obviously, if you could be, one of the greatest studio musicians in the world, but what do you do with that? And maybe that's a little bit simpler than growing a law firm. So with your law firm, when you think about what do you want and who can help you get there, I'm a firm believer in that. And over the years of me doing things, then I've encountered mentors and people that could help me. And getting in the right room is crucial to moving forward. For example, I had some friends and mentors of mine that suggested that I go to this mastermind group, and it just happened to be, coincidentally, it just happened to be in Myrtle Beach, and I was very happy to go to it. That was life-changing because I was starting a company, and I was trying to figure out what the steps are, what to do, and I didn't have anybody to ask. And once I got in that room, those people had done what I was trying to do. They were successfully doing what I was trying to do. And I remember, because in a mastermind group, what happens is you're in a room and everybody has their time to present. Everybody has their time to present their issue or their problem or the thing they're trying to grow beyond. And in my case, I was trying to start a business. And I remember after hearing everybody, I kept changing my presentation. I kept thinking, what am I going to say? And I really felt lost. And it was a situation where, I was so far out of my comfort zone that it really started to have an impact on me. And so much so that the head of that group, who's a very successful person, his name is Marty Fort, and he teaches people how to build and grow music schools. And so he's a coach in the music school business, because you have these music schools all over the country. And he has music schools, but he actually teaches people how to grow their business for the music schools. He's also now, he's so good at what he does, he was handpicked by Dan Kennedy to join Dan Kennedy's company and help do those presentations and events. But I remember going up to Marty, just as an aside, and telling him, I really don't even know what to say. I'm so far over my head with this that I don't even know what to do. And I've scratched out what I was going to say 3 times. And at that point, I was extremely vulnerable and confused, maybe scared, but more confused, and also maybe a little embarrassed. And he looked at me and he said, Greg, we've all been there. We all had to start somewhere. We're here to help you. Just get up there and tell us what you're trying to do. Because in the mastermind, the way that was presented, people were talking about, people got up there and they talked, and they each one explained what they were doing. There was another group who run a coaching program for baseball pitchers, and they probably have one of the best pitching clinics in the nation. and these baseball players who want to get better, and ultimately some of the people they coach end up becoming professional baseball players, and they actually coach you for a week or two where you're out there and they're teaching you how to pitch. They're teaching you how to throw a baseball. And because the people that are coaching it, they know how to improve it. They know how to improve that technique. So we had all these people. There was another company that coached dentists. Their business is teaching dentists how to grow their business. So their presentations were extraordinary, and they had all these things that they had done, all these events they were doing, and everything that they were doing, and it was really intimidating and a little overwhelming. So Marty Fort told me, he said, Greg, we've all been there. We all had to start. We all felt exactly like you do. And it was an extraordinary moment for me. And then, interestingly, and I think I went last, and at the time, Brandon Williams, who was going to be in this coaching company with me, and we were going to do 2 types of law, but she ended up, for personal reasons, deciding not to do that. But I remember standing there, because I was standing up, and they started telling me what to do. And they basically, they boiled it down to 5 things to do. And so I just wrote down what they told me to do. And over the course of the year, I did those 5 things. And it took work, it took effort, but I did those things. And then that launched me. That put me where I am. And it was an extraordinary experience. And that's what it takes, because you want to learn from people who have done what you've done, but you also need help. And I was reading a book recently, Cinema Speculation by Quentin Tarantino, and I'm a big Quentin Tarantino film. I love movies, and so I'm reading this book. And the journey for Sylvester Stallone to making Rocky is very interesting. And he was going to L.A., and his car broke down, and he called Henry Winkler, and Henry Winkler came and picked him up and then took him and got him in a hotel or got him a place to stay and helped him out. That struck me as odd, because I thought, I would never think that Sylvester Stallone and Henry Winkler would be friends, but they were fast friends. They're good friends. And the ironic part of it is that they had both been in this movie called The Lords of Flatbush, and it was a hit. And so when the television studio was going to make Happy Days with Ron Howard, remember that, they were looking at Lords of Flatbush for Fonzie, and they picked Sylvester Stallone. But he told his agent he didn't do television, which is extraordinary for me, that at where he was in his life. I mean, he was so broke at one point he had to sell his dog. Later, he was able to buy his dog back. But it really struck me. But there's Henry Winkler helping Sylvester Stallone. And what happened was, at that point, since Stallone turned down the role of Fonzie on Happy Days, they would look for the other person, and they found Henry Winkler because he was in the cast. So Henry Winkler, at the time that Sylvester Stallone's car broke down, Henry Winkler is in Happy Days. So he's set. He's making money. He's probably one of the most successful actors of the time right then. But it struck me because those two, I wouldn't put them together, but they were friends. And then later, I think Henry Winkler passed Stallone's script along to get a movie made. And I can't remember if that was Rocky. There was this other movie that Stallone was trying to do, and no one would do it, so he rewrote it as a boxing movie. So who's in your life? Take stock of that. Look around. Is there anybody in your life who has done what you're trying to do? And if you're trying to scale or grow a criminal defense law firm, do you have somebody that you can ask questions to? And the position that I was in was that I would look at other law firms and criminal lawyers and people that I thought were successful, and I would try to talk to them and get some help, get an idea of what it is I needed to do. The problem with that is that they never helped me. They were friendly enough, but they were not going to help me. In fact, I remember this one lawyer who was considered like at the top of his game in our market. He asked me one time about some marketing and advertising I was just starting to do. And he said, well, I wish you wouldn't do it. Okay? That's the opposite of encouragement. He doesn't want me to market my law firm. He doesn't want me to grow my business because he saw us as competitors. And there were many times when somebody was going to hire my law firm or his. Sometimes they hired his, sometimes they hired mine. So the other part of it is, too, when I look at his practice and stuff, it really was in a different era. And the things that he did to grow up and be who he was in the community, those things really don't work anymore. And if you look at it, he's kind of like on the down trajectory, which is fine because, I mean, he's had a successful career. But he wasn't going to encourage me at all. So how did I get help? The way I got help was I found a program, and I had no idea if it would work or not, but I signed up for it. I traveled, I spent some money, and I made a commitment. I made a commitment to go and learn from people who knew how to do what I was trying to do. And that particular program, it was a general law coaching program. So it wasn't like Prosper at Law. It wasn't niche down. It wasn't focused on criminal defense law. It was all lawyers, and they took the position that, we can grow your law firm, which is true, and they did. And it changed my life because of the things I learned. But the other thing that started happening over time is the more things I signed up for and the more things I attended and the more people I met, it started to evolve because in the first coaching program I was in, the coach it was a big group and he wasn't accessible. In other words, I couldn't text him, I couldn't call him, I couldn't ask him questions. Nevertheless, the program helped a lot. But then I started getting to a point where working with other people that I developed friendships and developed professional relationships and found people who, while I was trying to do a thing, they could just do it, or they could tell me how to do it, or they could just do it for me. And so what happened now is that I have all of these people in my life who help me succeed. They're committed to my success. They genuinely care about how I'm doing. And a lot of these people I work with, some of them are people that I pay to do certain things, but there are also people that, while I may have been in their program before, we developed a friendship, and they're mentors and they're people that I can call and ask. The other thing that happened is I met some extraordinary people in that mastermind I went to. I think that was January 2023, and have developed successful relationships with people. If you don't have that, then you don't know what to do. Or worse, you're talking to the wrong people and doing the wrong things. So it's very important, and in my life has been a huge difference in my life. Even the people that publish this podcast, I met from knowing somebody else that I met in that mastermind. And so what's happened in my life now, and I look back at it, because if I go back, say, 10 years, when I knew nothing and knew nobody, to now, where I don't really think of it this way, but I'm pretty dialed in with people. And there are people that I've surrounded myself with that are successful. And Napoleon Hill talks about it in Think and Grow Rich. You have to rise up high enough for success to see you. And it took some time for me to do that. I had to get successful enough for success to actually see me. And it seems like an odd concept. And when I first read that the first several times, I thought, what is he talking about? You have to rise up enough for success to see you. Looking back at it now, connecting the dots going backward, it makes sense. So if you want to grow your law firm and you want to rise up high enough for success to see you, then you have to do something. I was talking to a lawyer this morning who was taking a long drive to make a court appearance. And in our conversation, he was saying that, well, I'd do this a couple times a week. So instantly I started thinking about, and I didn't tell him this, we were just having a brief conversation. I started thinking about his hourly value, his daily value. And if he drives 2 hours for a court appearance on a small case, drives 2 hours back, how many times is he doing that on that case? And is that case profitable? Should he be doing that? Is there an alternative to that? Well, he hasn't thought of that. He doesn't know that. He's just hustling and working and trying to make a buck, which I admire. But there's a better way to do things, and you can learn a better way. And one of the ways, obviously, is to contact Prosper at Law, see what we have to offer, whether it's a mastermind group or just a straight coaching program or one-on-one coaching. You have to do something to change your life. One of my mentors, one of my favorite quotes was that he said, if you want to change your life, you have to change your life. Okay? If you want to do something different and have a different result, you have to seek this out and do something different. Now, you can just do a shotgun approach and say, well, I'm going to try this, and if this works, fine. I'll try that. If this works, fine. And I'll keep trying it. The idea of mentors and coaching, though, is that you increase your odds of success almost exponentially when you're listening to the right people, you're having conversations with the right people, you're getting the right kind of advice, because it could take 100 years of doing the trial and error, whereas if you're getting the right advice at the right time and you're confident that this is going to work, and it may work, it may not work, but your odds are so much better, that will change your life. You have to do something. You have to take action. You have to commit. And so if this is something that resonates with you, I would encourage you, reach out to Prosper at Law, have a conversation with me, and let me show you how to start finding people who will actually help you. Let us show you what you're doing wrong so that you can start doing the right things to improve your life. And in my life, with what I did and what I teach others to do, is I got back my time. I have a lot of free time now, and I try to use it wisely, but I make more money, I work less, my stress levels are lower, because I built a law firm that serves me instead of me having a job or working for it. So I hope this is helpful. Greg McCollum, Prosper at Law. Check us out. See you next time.
If you want to know more, go to prosperatlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.